It's cold and I want brisket. And you guys do too. So what we're doing today is going to show you all how to manage your fire, how to refuel this bad boy over the period of a long cook in what I believe is 40-degree weather. Let's do it. Got about a 15-pound Angus beef brisket. I'll go ahead and inject it with some beef broth. This is my beef rub, standard. I'll pop it in the description, nothing complex. I shouldn't have to tell you we are going Kingsford and Royal Oak combo lump and briquette, the temperatures being what they are. Okay, pretty standard here. These are hickory in the corners, and I'm adding a good store of pecan to it since we're cooking a brisket. Why not a long brisket cook, and we'll see what kind of temps we can keep Dyna at here. I am going to fill the gaps in with briquettes and then top it with Royal Oak up to the brim here, and then put the hot coals on. This is at the point I like to put the lump over here to potentially catch as the fire goes. I'm going to put a good store of these coals right here, and they should begin to catch the wood chips and get the lump going, and hopefully get us at a desirable temp, but more so than anything, and a long sustainable burn, and keep us from having to refuel for at least 3, potentially 4 hours. Between that 3rd and 4th hour, you want to consider lighting a chimney or throwing in some smaller lump pieces. We'll keep you abreast of how the cook goes. I have yet to start the fire, but the coals are about ready to be put on. For this experiment, I'm going to go ahead and use the Inkbird. So just for verification, we're mid-30s, low 30s here. The outer probe is 32, and inside Dyna with no fire is 36. She'll give you a good home. Hot coals going on. Pretty important piece of equipment, dirty old pair of tongs. Come in real handy, adjusting the bed of coals in your Dyna, and this butte is going on. I'm gonna go ahead and probe it, just for experimentation purposes, how long this took us, and give you guys the skinny. It's 8 a.m., sun just came up. In weather like this and a big piece of meat and approach, I like to throw her on cold, get her up to temp, regulate, and then start maintaining. Dyna's reading at 275. I've got the Inkbird just below the thermostat there. It's reading 260. I've been in the 250s, 275 range. I got the fire going at 7:30, so that would make us very close to the 3-hour mark. So I think Part of refueling this cooker and refilling it is knowing when and how and what with. This is a chimney that has a bed of Kingsford briquettes with the remainder of a bag of lumps, so you'll want to light this away from a few things so it doesn't catch too much. Some of that royal oak, it can get a little buck wild. Another cheapskate trick for lighting these guys, no need to use a tumbleweed or a wax cube every time. Tear pieces of the old Kingsford bag. It's about 235, 240-ish. The brisket is at 138, but the fire is definitely at the point of needing to be changed and tamed. Now I've got a back fire pit that I usually dump ashes in, but in lieu of the time, I'm gonna do that into an extra grill. I think this step is key, shaking your ashes loose right now and then all the way far back. This pan's gonna be hot, so you wanna have some probably thicker gloves than what I've got, but we're not going far. Probably my most used tool with Dyna. Put that guy back in. I'll pull out just a hair. And we're about to feed it with the chimney, at least half of this chimney. Mind your sparks. All right, that's not as much coal as I wanted to supply Dyna with at the moment, but it will do. Usually if I have much more, I'll dump the chimney into this shovel. This is just your long spade, planting trees, you know, kind of tool. Wasn't in use, and we're putting her to good use. The brisket is at 140, so we're definitely in the next hour probably going to feed that thing and make sure we give it momentum through the stall. But definitely here, once the temperature picks back up, we're going to give it a spritz and give this brisket a look-see. I gotta see how she's doing. Okay. I think that crust is set. Yes, sirree. All right. Even the flat crust. So I'm gonna give it just a, let's see, new spritzer, RIP green spritzer. It served well. Oh boy, this is just a stream now, isn't it? Let me get my settings while I leave the whole thing exposed here. Just trying to give the old guy some moisture. Wow, that's looking really nice. I shouldn't cheat the fire too much here. Let me get this shut properly and give you some temps. Right now that brisket is walking up at 143. And we just lost a whole bunch of heat. Okay, we started the fire about 7:30. Did a refill just after, let's say 10:30, before 11 for sure. Now we're staring 12:30 in the face. The brisket's at about 151, 152-ish. So it's time for refill number 2. I jacked refill number 1 up significantly with that large amount of small lump. It choked the fire out completely. Had to divvy those chimneys up in 2, but still gave us enough fuel. What I'm doing here is mostly briquettes with just a few larger chunks of lump that I'd like to catch. In lieu of the thyme, I'm going to use a wax paraffin cube this time. Dyna's holding at 255, and this brisket's at 151, if that's enough numbers. But basically, we're at 4.5 hours of cooking almost. I think this bad boy needs a spritz. I don't want to give you guys a live look too. Feast your eyes on that. Huh? Yeah, it wants a spritz. This is just my standard apple cider vinegar with a little bit of water incorporated in the mix. Give you guys the tickets to the show. What do you think? Really good looking brisket. We will be panning this bad boy soon, and I need to get this door closed because I'm a fool. Aha! As we approach this stall, I'm going to feed it with a new batch of coals to build some momentum towards the 60s. And then we'll pan it once we get the fire good and stoked. I should probably add that a big part of feeding the fire and keeping the fire stoked is giving it air. I think the biggest mistake people make with these Dyna-Glos is to just keep dumping the coals on, just keep feeding it the gas. But the biggest mistake for me that I made in the beginning was choking out the air that it's getting both through the bottom as well as on the top. It just, fire needs air to breathe, and since we're very confined on this box, we've got a time frame that's specific and a temperature range that's pretty specific too. So right now what I'm going to do is stir it and give it a little bit of space in the center, not only for some air, but for future coals that should be about 15 minutes away, judging by the smoke back there. So let's check it out. Already a nice little center coal, and the middle of it's orange with some nice healthy pieces of white lump and little white briquettes. And at this point too, it's nice to shake everything loose, give it just a little bit of air in the center, and then close her on back up. It is about time. Got nothing but white coals. So what I like to do is bank them to one side, because we are about to feed some new guys, some newbies, to the party. The brisket is 152, I think. Hopefully you can see in there, there's some larger chunks that have been lit. And just show you my, quasi technique here. I'm gonna shake the pan loose. The food bowl, our box got slid over a little bit. Bring out the drawer just a skosh. And then I like to dump out a little bit as I go. Okay, and that's refill number 2. It's about 2:15, so we're looking about 2 hours later from the last refueling. So I'm gonna get another chimney very similar to the last one that you saw. About half of this is Kingsford, and then 4 or 5 large chunks of lump. And since it's almost 50 out here, I think I'll go ahead and use some old Begz. Okay, can't get too much closer with the camera, but hopefully you can see this is about your ideal flame. Coming up right, it's getting the lump pieces, and then the rest of your briquettes have lit. So, we'll go ahead and pull these. I'm gonna empty the pan like I like to do. Right now this pan's about nuclear. Hopefully I don't mess up too much of this view. It's not an easy process, that's the bottom line, but that's probably the biggest reason I don't show every last fill-in on my cooks. It's a little elaborate and cumbersome, but it's all about the results. It's time to pan this bad boy. We just fed the fire. This thing is looking wonderful. How about it? Hey, just fit into the foil. That will work, my friends, that will work. I'm just gonna give this just a little bit of love up top. Our crust is completely set, but it's probably got really dry on the point. The point was closest to the firebox, the mighty firebox that is the Dyna-Glo. I know. But there we go. Just wanted to save back a little bit of the beef broth. We're gonna foil this over top of the probe and then get this back into the smoker. Okay, we're gonna let Dyna get back up to temp. Just fed it, it's probably for the last time. I will keep you updated to that if I need to add any coals. I will say though, as far as fueling the fire and adding pre-lit chimneys, at this point, I think you're safe to just put in coals, especially on a wrap. I'm not gonna add unlit Kingsford, but I will probably, maybe a couple hours from here, begin to incorporate a little unlit lump just to keep the heat high in what's now 51, 52-ish temperature. So yeah, it's 6.5, maybe 7 hours in on this cook. We are wrapped and headed to the promised land. Went ahead and threw the brisket in the party stacker. She reached 205 in spectacular fashion. Finished around 4 o'clock, so geez, 2 hours rest. Yeah, 2 hours rest. We're at $1.65 by the Inkbird. I like to keep a brisket or a pork butt plugged in the whole time on the rest, just out of curiosity's sake. Yep, she's a jiggler. I think we did okay. I'll cut against it. Hopefully there's a decent smoke ring in here. Just to show you guys, here's the early part of the brisket, and we got a pretty good smoke ring, I think. Hopefully that's coming out. Look at that. A nice smoke ring. Here's the flat slice that we just cut. I think that's pretty nice. Here, I'll put on. I think that's pretty good. You know, I'm not saying they're perfect angle or nothing, but boy, the oops, hey, you put it back the right way, Buster. But Dyna, you know, she's not to be trifled with on results. There's certainly that. Let's go ahead with the everybody's favorite piece on our real results. Like, how did you cook a brisket? Oof, fell right through. I think I cooked this okay. That's what Dyna did. In Dyna we trust. You got a smoker emergency? You want some good brisket? Call Dyna. It's tough. Tough to slice. It wants to fall apart. It wants to. We're not gonna let it. We're not gonna let it. Oh, there it is. There's that side. I don't know if you can catch the steam going, but I know you can see these juices. That's for the chef. That is for the chef. Yes, sir. Yep. This guy. Nope. I think I heard an email about this piece of brisket. That's what they love in Kansas City. You have to fight me for that, bar. Okay, gang, the results are in, and Dyna knocked it out again. Here's the brisket point. Still steaming, still juicy, beautiful smoke ring. Put that back, and oh mercy, that's hard to put back. Here's the last slice of flat that we did. But this wasn't just about a brisket or good eats. Even though you knew that was coming. We started a fire at 7:30. Got it going. Just around 10:30, 11, the refuel. I botched up the refuel a bit and got a little greedy on the amount of lump I wanted to put in. Had to separate those into two separate chimneys, but the second refuel was at 12:30. And then the final refuel at 2:30. I think the brisket was pulled at 4, just after 4 p.m. We're after 6 p.m. right now. I let the thing, I'll be honest, I let the thing rest a little longer than 90 minutes, but 90 minutes is about my time. We survived the bulk of that first 3 hours of the fire in the 30s. The next 2 hours was solid 40s, so in cold temps, you've got to feed that cooker because it has thin metal. It is affordable because it has thin metal, but that's kind of the trade-off we're dealing with here. Point being, I hope this helps with some of the people that have been asking questions like, how many times do you fuel it? What do you fuel it? How do you fuel it? Not only do I have that shovel mechanism that I've created as a bit of a funnel, I think a pair of tongs are a must, and then something to put your ashes in. And I think just to cover again some of the more important parts about maintaining your fire in that Dyna-Glo. Number one, be prepared between the if it's cold, between the 2.5 and 3 hour mark to refuel that fire, and not after 3 hours. You want to have a chimney going a bit. And also, number two, you need to think about emptying that ash pan so that you can have airflow. That is so key. I mean, any fire needs air, but especially a fire with as limited capacity as we're dealing with. And then the third and final one, you have to keep maintaining that fire. You need to have a longer stick, and any kind of poker from your chimney set, something to stir the fire with and create an airflow. Any kind of fire needs air, so stirring that thing is a must, at least every 30 minutes, I'd say every hour at the minimum, to make sure your fire isn't stagnant and just sitting on ash and not breathing any air at all. And I think as our temps get colder, this video was important to show. Just you know, we cooked over 8 hours and had a fire going over 8 hours, fueled it 3 times, and the temp outside never got higher than the 50s. So that's kind of the goal, I'd say, what we're looking for with the combo of briquettes and lump. I'm pretty pleased with 3 refuels. I don't have to tell you guys, if this was the summer, we'd maybe have 2 total, if that. The temperatures outside make a big difference. Humidity outside makes a huge difference, and also the temperatures you want to cook at and what you're trying to cook and how long. I think it changes everything in the equation. Hopefully this helped out some of my fellow Dyna-Glo users and all my sisters and brethren out there. You're using the Dyna. Hit me up with any more questions you have, and I'll probably be having some more videos with Dyna-Glo. Like, ain't no probably about it, that's a guarantee. You're gonna see more Dyna-Glo videos. Did you see that smoke ring? Thanks for putting up with me. Thanks for putting up with the cook. And if you want any more videos like this, barbecue ideas, experiments, click subscribe. You can join my tribe. Get in the backyard and start cooking with us. Until next time. I mean, I'm gonna get some more of this until next time. I don't know if you can see, but Muchacho got the frost on him. Whoop, whoop. Stepping on a hot coal, that's no good, Buster. Some old Begz. I mean, you got a probe during the cook, why not leave the bastard in there? Okay, I've had a few pops, may start cussing.